Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 174 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekend edition and I'm standing by my trusty thickness sander. Has it ever happened to you that when you have a problem with something and you've looked at it and finally you call another expert over and a friend and they come and look at it and within seconds they've diagnosed the problem and you end up going, how did I miss that? Well, that happened to me this last week, and if you want to know exactly what happened, all you have to do is stay tuned. Well, as I stated in the introduction, I got to feel like an idiot a couple of days ago. And not that it was intentional or anything. A friend of mine, Ray, came over. I met him uptown. And hey, I got my thickness sander. It's making lots of noise on the rollers. It seems like the bearings are not good. And yet, when I pull on everything and try to find slack or play in the bearings, they seem to be good. But maybe I've missed something with the bearings. And I was thinking bearings, bearings, bearings. Well, that's the danger of getting fixated on one issue. It turns out it wasn't the bearings, it was the pulleys. And I've tightened pulleys on my lathes before when the lathe started to make a clackering noise, and it goes away right away, and I just didn't think. So I'm in the process of making this all better, and I just thought I'd show you a little bit. We're not going to do a how-to or anything, but basically just showing you what I thought was wrong. And yes, I need to change the paper on here, I realize that, but I'm just in the process of servicing this machine because in about a week and a half I'll probably have students again, so we need to be ready to go. So anyway, I'm going to bring you in closer and we're going to take a look at exactly what my issue was. Okay, well that's about as close as I can get you into here. Hopefully you can see this. So I was convinced that it was the bearings, and there's similar attachments for the rollers at the other end. Now these bearings, it's really kind of I think a cheesy way that they're in. They're just in a stamped steel kind of holder that bolts on to this heavier piece of metal here. Well, the diagnosing I had done, and I was convinced it was the rollers, these bolts here, the two end bolts that attach the bearing or hold the bearing into this heavier piece of metal, I think that's what they do anyway. These bolts were somewhat loose, so I tightened them up and then ran the sander, and it actually was a wee bit better. Not a lot, but a wee bit better. And there's the similar things, well, you can't see them here, but there's a similar connection at this end. So I tightened everything up on the rollers, and that seemed to be okay. But when Ray got here, we looked at it, and he says, well, we can't really diagnose it with the belts tight, so let's take the drive belts off and see what we've got. So sure enough, when Ray did that, then we realized that the here that in this pulley here, well, in fact, when we got the belts off, this pulley would shake. It was that loose. So what Ray noticed is there's a hole in the pulley here and a set screw. And with the camera in the way, I can't get this hooked up. But anyway, there's a set screw there, and then there's a bolt on the end. So I thought what I would do is take the pulley off and just inspect everything when I was fixing this. But the pulley, I would have to undo these two bolts here to slide this piece out so that I could get this pulley off. And I thought, you know what, I'm not doing that now. If it doesn't work properly after I tighten everything, then I'll do it at another time. So what I did is we had the belts off, so I simply tightened the end bolt first. Um, I wasn't that impressed with the shaft end here. To me, it shouldn't be rusty, and yet, well, it wasn't really rusty. It was like pitted, like old rust. So maybe that's why I got the deal on this machine that I got at the time. And I've owned this thing now for, oh, jeepers, 15 years, maybe not quite. It hasn't run much until lately, but because I had it in my shop at home here, but it wasn't set up to run. It was just stored here. So anyway, rather than taking it all apart, I simply slid the pulley back on. The keyway seems to be fine. A little looser than I'd like it, but you know, if it works, it works. Slid it back on, tightened the end. There's a 12 millimeter head bolt that holds the pulley onto the shaft, and then the set screw to tighten it. So, and I've done that all already, and then just for the video, I can kind of act like I'm doing it here, and that's as tight as it goes. And I'm just going to put the belts back on again, and then we're going to run it and see if it's made a dramatic difference. This thing will actually sand up to 12 inches. And there's quite a bit of an assembly in front that will make noise and rattle regardless, because it's just the way it is. But if I could get like, it really sounded like something was going to come apart. And when you're working with kids in the shop, I want my equipment to be working perfectly and as quiet as it can be, because I don't want to intimidate kids with a loud, and they'll assume somewhat dangerous machine. Let's just see if I can get you to take a look at the bottom here. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, see, the motor's down there, and then this whole thing here is a cover that slides up and down so that you can adjust this. But I rarely sand anything thicker than 2 inches on here. So, and like I say, the rollers do need to be changed, and that's not going to happen today, but it will happen. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this whole thing back together, and then I'm going to bring you back when I run it at the end, and hopefully you can hear it, and then I can judge whether I made improvements or not. So we'll be back. Well, I've got the belts on. I still need to put the covers on and all that stuff, but I thought I couldn't wait just to run it and see if it's any better. And I have everything out of the way so that there's no problem running it. I may even, let's, for the final demo, there, that should do it. And you can see the rollers going too. Wasn't sure how much to tighten the belts, so I tightened them so that when I push them in the middle, there's about a half to 5/8, probably more 5/8 of deflection, which to me feels pretty good. I could go to the manual and check it out. Maybe they have it there, but I kind of doubt it. So anyway, I'm going to, and I know the sound is going to be compromised a little bit with the microphone system, but we're going to turn this thing on, and away we go. It still makes a bit of noise, but the bearing noise is gone. Okay, this pulley, these two pulleys were well, this one was really loose. This one I tightened. I also tightened the pulley on the motor as well, so I just basically did a complete service of those fasteners to make sure they were tight. In hindsight, maybe should have applied a little bit of Loctite to the set screw, but now that I realize what's going on, if that happens in the future, I'll just do that. Let's see if it makes any difference with the cover on. It almost actually seems to. So maybe when I get the other shielding back on, it'll be even a little bit better. But yes, this has definitely helped. Uh, the scary noise is gone. Okay, yeah, it still rumbles and makes noise because there are quite a few moving parts here and not necessarily maybe all that well balanced. I don't know if you put sandpaper on, if that changes things, but or on the rollers, but and there's a conveyor belt here, which I'm sure makes some noise as well. So there is going to be noise with this machine, but like I said, the scary noise, the knocking is gone. So anyway, yeah, it was embarrassing that I needed to get a friend over to tell me what I should have known, but that happens sometimes. And I was in a hurry, like I always am in here. There's always stuff to do, and I thought, wow, I can spend a day on it and not get anywhere, or I can call somebody who knows what they're doing and have it fixed quickly. And I guess if I look at it that way, that's exactly what happened. So anyway, thank you, Ray, for coming and pointing that out to me. I really appreciate it. Also, yeah, I guess that's the close of this video. I'm going to put this thing back together. I am going to do some other service yet, like the mechanisms for raising and lowering the conveyor belt here. I'm going to lubricate those a little bit and just go through it, blow all the dust out, and make sure it's ready to go for students when they come. So anyway, with that in mind, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. One of the things that might be coming, I've been debating this for a while. I have what I think is a pretty spectacular 1,000 subscriber giveaway in mind. I'm not going to share details on it yet, and we're still a ways away. Things have really slowed down lately, so, but whatever. But I have a pretty cool idea for a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So stay tuned, and I'll tell you more about that as I figure out what's going to go on with it. So yeah, like I said, like, share, and subscribe, and have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you in the middle of next week.